Business administrator's report, and we will be adjusting the agenda to put this on at the beginning of the meeting instead of the end. Okay? You're welcome.
Good evening. The business office is pleased to report the vast majority of 2020-2021 expenditures have been paid and accounted for in our CSIU system. The district's 2020-2021 expenditures are currently below budget at $40,960,735, with all final payments to be made by August 31st. As mentioned last month, the district has begun the process of cleaning up data to begin our transition to the CSIU financial information system. A great deal of work has been completed by the business office to get to our sandbox conversion scheduled for later this week. All staff will be participating in trainings in the coming weeks to ensure a smooth live transition in October for this year. A large portion of the purchase supplies have arrived for the 21-22 school year, and the business office as well as the building and grounds are working to distribute all items to the appropriate buildings and classrooms for the arrival of teachers and students. The district has also begun receiving tax revenue from distributed tax bills for the 21-22 school year. Tax revenue for July of 2021 was $1,100,000. Comparatively to July of 2020, there was zero tax revenue received by the district. Total revenue received for July of 2021 was $1,899,247. Again, compared to July of 2020, $563,645. The business office would like to wish all of our students a safe and healthy beginning to the school year, as well as wish our student athletes a successful fall sports season. Thank you.
Mr. Rare, excuse me, for your financial report, did we begin the audit process yet? Did we contact our auditor for last year? And are we going to be able to put a annual financial report together in time to meet our October 31st date?
That is the goal. I did contact them in the spring, before the end of this school year, to confirm that they'd be able to complete the audit this fall, but I have not heard back from them. I will do that in the coming days.
Mr. Stern, can we please add to our new business that we instruct and mandate our subordinate administration to ensure that all of these requirements are met so we can meet the Pennsylvania School Code and file our paperwork in a timely fashion? Thank you.
On to approval of minutes. Need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the July 12th regular board meeting.
So,
I'll second. John, Fuller, any adjustments or corrections? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. I need a motion and a second to adjust the agenda to move item A under programs, which is the school safety plan, up on the agenda to the right now. I have a motion and a second, please. So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Bells, a second by Mr. Bradley. Any comments on the motion? Any comments from the public on moving the motion up? Mr. Chairman?
Can we also move the other item that was discussed heavily, which is the hiring of an assistant superintendent?
Let's get through A first, Mr. Bradley. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Ayes have it. Find the item. Here, four programs. Need a motion and a second to approve the revision to the health and safety plan for the Heidelberg School District for the 2021 school year. 2021-2022 school year attachment health and safety plan 2021-2022.pdf. Need a motion and a second, please.
so moved.
Mr. Ellie?
I'll second.
Mr. Fuller? Have a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion on the item, anyone?
I have a couple.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
This appears to be just a recommendation. It was formed from the CDC, the Department of Health, and local health officials, and PDE. However, it lacks the information concerning our authority as a board to mandate masking, and it has not been reviewed. Therefore, this should be tabled until such time that that can be ascertained by our legal counsel. Secondly, there is nothing in this health and safety plan that discusses the acceptable mask ratings, the advice on the length of time that it can be used, and when it needs to be replaced or who's providing the said mask. It also doesn't have anything that talks about the parental's ability to have a valid objection, whether they're asthmatic or they just have a belief to opt out of this program, much like they have other medical benefits as a parent that can decide what happens to their child while attending a government-run school. And finally, this health and safety plan lacks the district government's ability to restrain an individual student by use of a mask, and also doesn't identify the penalties for non-compliance. Now, I've heard different stories from last year about how compliance to this mask issue was taken care of, and it sounds like that portion of our government oversight is greatly lacking. I think all these things need to be reviewed. This should have went to a committee weeks ago, if not months ago, and it should not be done in a rush. You've excited all the public to show up here because at the last minute, you pulled the rug out from underneath them and changed what has been discussed over the entire summer. It's wrong.
Exactly.
I would like to just say something that really is not true, Mr. Bradley. When we were asked last month if masks were going to be optional, Mr. Cleveland said at this point, yes. But if things changed, we would come back to it. We've been monitoring this all through the last, 18 months with successful full-day school time, and I'm not comfortable with, yes, you have a choice whether your child wears a mask, but people have a choice to make sure that their child isn't with an unmasked, unvaccinated child. As soon as vaccinations become available to children, then you have a choice. That's where your choice comes in. When vaccinations are available, but right now, 5 through 12 is not available. I am not comfortable exposing kids unmasked and unvaccinated to other children, nor are a lot of parents. We've had communication today from a doctor, from hospitals, from CDC, from the Department of Health. I've seen things on television. I understand you're getting your information from where you feel it's true, but so am I.
Are you guaranteeing this, Rita, that you're going to make these kids safe by wearing a mask?
On the CDC
Are you
website.
guaranteeing
0
this?
to 17. 0
Yeah.
to
I'm
Are you
not
guaranteeing?
guaranteeing anything.
Oh,
I'm
if you're not
telling
guaranteeing
you
it, what are you
what
doing?
I'm comfortable with.
I understand. It's not
They're
guaranteeing.
comfortable with where they get their information, and I'm comfortable with where I get mine. This is not a discussion, this is my statement. It's time for the board to comment on the motion, and that is my comment. Thank you.
So the CDC is recommending, not mandating, and how many children do you have in school?
Yeah, exactly. How many? None. You're gonna speak for
Her silence is very well known right now, right? Really obvious, isn't it? Isn't it obvious? Now look, it's really understandable. If you don't have the
I understand what
ability,
you're saying, but you
Hold on.
don't have any kids in our district either.
I do.
They graduated.
I do.
They graduated.
I do. I have a child that's in 8th grade right now.
In Lehigh.
7th. Well, he is a Lehigh resident. He goes to a
In
private
Lehigh
school.
Area School District.
I put him in a private school.
I agree.
You know why? Because I don't like government-run schools telling my kids what they can and can't do. And when my kids are threatened, hold on, when my kids are threatened by this school, that are intimidated by this school, when board members, children are treated differently in this school, negatively, oh, you better believe I pull them out.
And just to, I know there was a question,
And it's not only my child, by the
there
way.
was a question about other schools. I do know I recently stated, the Diocese of Allentown has required universal mask wearing for students. That was released today. So there may be districts that are within the school district that our students are going to. However, because the diocese is the ones who oversee those schools. Those students will be required to wear universal mask coverings. But I just wanted to make that.
All we
But
want is
ultimately,
parents'
the
choice.
government, yeah, the parents have a
That's all we
choice.
want is parents' choice.
Ms.
That's it.
I'm making a statement, there's no.
I'm just wondering, how are the other school districts getting
Choice.
the choice? Like, how are those parents? Like, I have a friend on the school board, and she's like, just go to your school board and ask for the choice.
And they should be given to you. We work for you.
That's all I'm asking.
Give them the choice.
Parents' choice.
There is, giving you the choice does not guarantee that your child will not be required to quarantine. What we're trying to do with this recommendation is guarantee that the students will be in school in person because of the universal mask wearing. The guidelines for quarantine, not the districts.
Have you seen my kid's mask?
And after a few months.
Exactly. How many
Can we
adults?
please have a discussion without people interrupting? That's all we're asking. There's no need to, this is a highly controversial subject.
This is.
I get it.
Exactly.
But again, being vocal and interrupting is not the way you handle things. We teach this in school. And I think it's important for us as adults to follow the rules that everyone here is asking their students and that we ask the students to follow. Just please be cordial. There's no need to raise your voice. There's no need to get upset. Just please understand that, yes, it's a controversial subject, and there is people who are highly for it, and there are people who are highly against it, and it's just the situation we're in. So
That's
is there
why
any
we're
other?
asking for parents' choice.
But the CDC is correct, they're recommending not mandating.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not it is not a mandate. Which could, another,
I just want to point that out.
next week, could change.
Right, well, they need to deal with that differently than what's a mandate. Right now, it's a recommendation.
So if two people are masked and one gets COVID, then they don't have to quarantine?
The student with the positive test, yes, but that student that is masked next to them will not be required.
Could they put them back on?
Hold on, under the health and safety plan, it says, hold on, under the health and safety plan, it physically says that the Heighton School District will continue to notify the Pennsylvania Department of Health immediately upon learning that a person with a confirmed or probable case of COVID-19 is present at the school or the school event while infectious. The district will work collaboratively with the Pennsylvania Department of Health staff on matters related to risk assessment, isolation, and quarantine recommendations, and other infectious control recommendations. There's not a single person in the world that's not going to pull a Rita and say, I can't guarantee anything, so just do it all. And that's the problem we're running into. It should be the parents that have that risk assessment.
What she's saying is if my kid doesn't have a mask on, and her kid does have a mask on, and my kid's COVID, her kid has to quarantine too. But if we both have masks on and mine's quarantined, then she doesn't have to.
That is
Right, even though I was How many people, all right, I'm talking. How many people had COVID? How many students had COVID last year? Under the
I'd
mask?
have to look at the,
100?
I'd have to look at the dashboard that we had live. I don't want to give a number.
Mr. Cleveland, do you have any cases where they trace transmission to our school from one student to another?
No.
So, was it 50% maybe?
What's that?
50%, less than 50, 25%? Less than 25.
Yes.
Okay, so last year, they had in school, they were wearing the mask, from what I heard most of the time, which I'm okay with that, and only 25% got COVID.
Right, because we were not 6
And
feet.
we had no idea what we were doing.
We were 6 feet separation.
Okay,
Every
we had
other
no
day.
idea what we were doing.
We were, no.
I had a question.
We did
The
have.
world didn't know what we were doing.
Well,
We had no idea.
The high school
Okay, my next
was not
question.
in every day.
I just have a question, because my kids didn't come to school last year, okay? I had to keep them home because I was a COVID nurse, and I didn't want them bringing it to school if I got it, and I didn't want them bringing it to me and having me take it and potentially kill people. So the kids come in with their mask on. Mrs. Ruppel, you're a teacher, and I thank you for your service. They come in with their mask on from school. They go to their classes, they wear their mask. They go to lunch, they take off their mask.
I'm not at lunch, so I don't know that.
Yeah.
Where do they
But I
put,
think to eat, you have to have your mask on.
where do they put their mask when they're eating?
A lot of them, depending on the type of mask, if it's a neck gaiter or something, it may be below them or maybe, next to them.
Next to them. So then
But I
they
can't say.
eat, they put their stuff away. Do they wash their hands before they eat?
Mine have always,
Yes.
as on the way back to class, they have always used the hand
Hand
sanitizer on the way through.
Which it doesn't protect against everything, but okay, that's a start. So they go, they eat with clean hands, hopefully. Put their mask back on to go outside, or no mask for
Last
outside?
year they did, this year we're not mandating them to.
Okay, so then they put that mask on, they go outside. Did they have the mask on while they were outside?
Yes,
For the most part.
last year.
So then the kids are probably doing this, because we know they're kids, all of our kids do that. Or they're pulling their masks down to talk, because even adults do that, Sue, right? You just did it?
I did it.
Okay, so the germs are going everywhere, so they're touching all the playground equipment, because we don't sterilize playground equipment, because it's outside. So then they're putting their mask back on, and they're going back to their classes. So potentially, these masks are filthy. You don't know if the parents are even washing them every day. Let's face it, like, we were taxed, everybody was taxed last year, it was crazy. The fact that we all survived it is a testament to our strength. So they're probably not washing these masks every day. So they're really wearing dirty masks a lot. Were they mostly cloth masks or were they surgical ones?
A little bit of both, but we
Okay.
had some that were very clean and we had some that were very dirty.
Okay,
But I did want to say also, we didn't use any playground equipment.
they did or did not?
Did not.
They were not allowed to wear
No.
use, okay.
They were not allowed to be
So-
on the playground equipment nor use anything.
So.
These are
the fact that
kids,
these
right?
children-
That's,
The fact that
that's the
these
way
children
it was.
they were mostly wearing dirty masks, a lot, let's face it, some people are better than others. And that you said probably less than 25% got COVID?
And as soon as you said these kids outside without a mask, they could easily,
It's not the mask.
if they're
It's not the
even,
mask, it's the hand sanitizing, and it was washing of the hands, because those masks, I'm sure, went in their pockets, they went in their back pockets by their butts.
The sun kills the virus. The sun kills the virus on surfaces outside.
If I could, I'd also like to say something, and I write down a few of my thoughts because I'm all over the place once I start talking. So many of you know me, I have friends, friends on both sides of this issue. I do have 3 students in the district, 3 daughters that would attend 2 full-time last year, 1 part-time in the high school. I want to point out, I think it's worth pointing out, that we were one of the few districts that was in person like we were last year. All around us we saw districts, even when it came to December, and there was a spike coming or happening. Everybody else went virtual for those 3 weeks. We stayed in person as much as we absolutely possibly could, because I value students being able to attend school and be educated in person. There's kids who will do well in any situation, but that, I believe, hands down, across the board, in most cases, is the best way for students to be educated. So in-person education is a big priority to me. As we've just discussed a minute, the quarantine requirements here are very different when masks are worn and when they're not. Last year, if you were 6 feet apart wearing masks, one student could have COVID, somebody who was 6 feet apart did not have to quarantine. And we saw it in our district, as far as I'm aware, not a single case was traced to transmission in our buildings with thousands of students here in person every day, wearing masks most of the time, probably occasionally picking their nose, and who knows what else happened. But all that to say, it at least made a difference. Nothing is a guarantee. Not guaranteed you're going to get COVID one way or not the other, but they did last year make a difference for us. I don't like masks. I haven't worn one in months unless I was on an airplane or at the post office. And I've gone to the pool, the amusement parks, to you name it, that's where I'm at. Like many of you, I have difficulty trusting just at face value every statement that I hear. Because in this, there's so much misinformation that goes around. Just Saturday, I sat down and spent about 5 hours researching statistics, facts, talking to people who were in other areas than we are. There's people who are back in school already. What have they seen? To be honest, looking for a way that I could, in good conscience, vote that my 3 daughters would not have to wear masks here in school. Because I don't want them to. That is the honest truth. 3 weeks ago, I was very confident that they wouldn't be needed this year. Since then, I have friends in Mississippi whose students went to school for 2 days without masks before the entire school was shut down to quarantine. I have another friend whose parents live in a southern state. The next school district over was open for a week before 400 COVID cases in their school. And I know we can take all these statistics with a grain of salt, but I'll say in the last few weeks, we have seen big changes in statistics. And it makes me at least just say, let's slow down and make sure that we're making the right decision. I do support that in Pennsylvania we are able to make this mask decision at a local level. I know we may not all like how the decision is made, but I do believe it's good for that authority to be here at the local level, just as it was last year when we were able to reopen our sporting events, when we were able to keep our kids in school, and make many of those decisions. So because of that, again, I wish I could say I supported the other way. For 4 weeks at the start of school, I support our students wearing masks. I don't like it. I understand that many of you are here supporting the opposite, and I look forward as much as any of you to the day when we can say that the masks are no longer needed. But because of the massive changes we've seen just in the last few weeks here, I believe as a school director with thousands of students in this district who are going to live with the impact of my decision, that at this point is the responsible decision to make. Whether I like it, whether it's what I would personally do or have my own children personally do or not. And I know we can say not a single child without a comorbidity has died of COVID, but we have students in our district here that have those comorbidities. And, 4 weeks I feel like is safe, and this will need to be reevaluated. I want to see our students attend school without masks. But as a parent of students in this district, as a local taxpayer, as somebody who feels honestly the weight of the decision I'm given to make here, I feel doing this at least for a short time, and I honestly hope for a short time this responsible decision to make. And I thank everybody who came out tonight, and many I have received more emails on this issue than I have any other issue that's come up before the board, and people share facts, people have been very respectful, and I appreciate that, and I hope that all of you will continue to be involved throughout this, and thank you for listening to me.
Nathan, fear shouldn't drive your decision, but let's ask the question. It sounds like it is, but here's the question. Who established the quarantine protocols?
I believe that would be our State Department of Health.
Let's make this as a fact. Who established the quarantine protocols?
The honest truth is I don't know, but I
Thank
believe
you.
that was
So
our
all
State
that research, everything you did, you came up to a meeting today, and you still don't know, and people are asking questions, and they're wondering what they're going to do with their kids on Monday, and the reality is, this board is uninformed, and it's rushing a decision, rubber stamping whatever's passed down from Mount High, that's only a recommendation, and it's not even a good one. Especially if you consider that the parents should have control of what happens to their children, even when they're mandated to get an education in the state, and a lot of them go to a government-run school.
We are required to follow the quarantine guidelines set by the Department of Health, and that honestly is a big part of my decision tonight.
It's a recommendation. It's not a mandate.
The quarantine department.
The Department of Health will we will give a list of the students, then they will do that, and they will actually work with us to notify.
That part I get, I'm saying, but to make a decision to make somebody wear a mask is a recommendation today from the
That is
CDC, not a mandate.
And local health officials.
And I'm glad that decision is here, like I said. And I look forward to the day when I can confidently say that it's time to go the other way, as we did earlier this summer, when the picture looked very different.
Nathan, what is the school day like for you with your 3 girls? What do you want to see, like timeline? Just sitting in school with the whole time with the mask on, or what do you want to do?
Well, I think it's also worth pointing out, and I didn't even fully understand this at first. The only real thing this year that's going to be quote-unquote not normal is if our students wear masks. They're going to have lockers. They're going to be able to sit across from their friends at lunch instead of me sitting here and my friend sitting over there, 2 people at the same table. They're going to be able to use playground equipment. And again, we got through last year, we kept our students in person. I'm thankful we were able to do that.
And yet those 2 things are going to do without masks. They're going to be in the cafeteria without masks, and they're going to be on the playground without masks.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so what that's the most illogical and irrational thing you've ever heard in your life. Think that through, Nathan.
Would you rather do all that also?
It's ridiculous. You're going to be unmasked in an opportunity where they're breathing heavy, and you're thinking you're protecting them, and they're going to be in a cafeteria where they're eating and being social.
The quarantine guidelines.
That's wrong.
Quarantine guidelines are unmasked or next to an unmasked, unvaccinated person who's tested positive for 15 minutes.
Which they can get at lunch or on the playground.
Okay, and they're outdoor though, that's changed, the outdoor piece for outside has changed.
So wait a second, eating lunch.
And I believe lunches should be 14 minutes now.
How do you know what they said?
Lunches should be 14 minutes.
JJ, if they're sitting there across from people eating lunch with no mask on, and they end up testing positive
there is a huge
Big brother.
formula that we follow to make sure when we get notified of a positive case. We go through, we look at class rosters, we look at who they're sitting next to, we give all that information to the Pennsylvania Department of Health. The Pennsylvania Department of Health, or Carbon County, whoever it is, will actually reach out to those individuals as well regarding quarantining and the requirements for that. So there is
Probably the time where they're gonna spread anything, because when you eat without you.
there's a lot of discussion that we're having here that I agree with. And again, the recommendation that we're presenting is based upon local health officials and collaborating with them. Because there was a lot of questions, and Mr. Bradley, I know it's hard for you to sit there and not comment as someone's talking. There's a lot of officials out there and school officials who every day we are learning. No one, I can pretty much say, 500 school districts in the state of Pennsylvania wishes this was a discussion happening at school board meetings right now across the state of Pennsylvania. I can guarantee it. Unfortunately, we're stuck with this. My job as a superintendent is to bring recommendations to the board. This is not just a Mr. Cleaver recommendation. Again, this is our administrative team. And just like the arguments that took place in this building between administrators, people would be very surprised with. But at the end of the day, when we look at the local officials, what they recommend, as recently as today, putting in writing, these are health officials who are very, usually don't put a lot of things in writing when we ask, but they are physically recommending and putting in writing that they would like to see universal masking done for at least the first 4 to 6 weeks in schools.
So just like.
Did anyone, wait, hold on, wait 1 second, excuse me, did anyone on that CDC get asked, what is the detriment of wearing masks?
This is not the CDC.
I understand that they're making a recommendation, did anyone ask the CDC or any other official what the detriment is from having young children wear masks all day?
There's information that I believe was presented in one of the information that was emailed about that there was no data showing respiratory, and that was from, I believe, the doctor from Lehigh, pediatrician from Lehigh Valley.
Allergist and immunologist and pediatrician from Lehigh Valley.
And again, I will say when it comes to CDC, the Pennsylvania Department of Health, I take things with a grain of salt, but when it comes from people who live here, where we all live, and who work in this area, as far as Lehigh Valley and St. Luke's, I do put a little bit more weight on their recommendations and what they are saying, because again, they're looking at giving us data locally. They're looking at what's happening here. They're looking at the spread and everything here within the counties. And so we do put a little bit more effort, or a little bit more weight when it comes from recommendations from them.
So parents are required during the school year to give written consent if their child is allowed to go on a field trip previous years. They have to have written consent if they're okay with, getting an eye exam at school. Why do we not have that option now? It's either you have to wear a mask, or our children get screwed on education. Because now the parents have to figure out babysitters, and they have to figure out their jobs.
If you wear a mask, you won't have to figure those things.
But you have to have written consent to do anything else. Why don't we get a choice now to give our permission? Yes, I'm going to have my child do this, or no, I'm not. It's do as you decide.
Again, the recommendation is the recommendation based on what gives us the best possibility and best position to have all our kids,
the best possibility
all our
for our
students
children
here in school on a daily basis. If your students do not wear masks, it doesn't matter what Mr. Cleaver or Ms. Holland or any other administrator here says. If your student is required to quarantine, they're going to miss school. And that is not necessarily because of the plan, that is because of the requirements when it comes to.
Because parents don't have choice.
But you have just as much chance on a playground or at lunch.
I'm not arguing.
I'm not-
What if we keep the desks 6 feet apart,
No.
like we did last year? Why?
Let
Let this guy speak, is that not speaking?
I know, right? He's had his hand up for a
He's
while.
had his hand up for like an hour.
If it's 6 feet apart, we'll not put all our students in it.
So do they expect to eradicate
Not enough teachers.
COVID-19 like they did smallpox? Because it's not
They
gonna
can't do
happen.
it because
It's not gonna happen.
smallpox did not have an animal
Yes.
reservoir.
And if you think that 4 weeks is gonna, stay at 4 weeks, you're also as naive as you can be.
And you know,
And local people make sense, I agree. I
and you
mean,
know
Berwick is pretty local.
you know
but-
why this latest variant is more catching, I forget the correct word. Yes.
Contagious?
It's because it's the nature of the beast. The virus starts out more virulent, which means it's stronger, it's people sicker. And then it finds out it doesn't have to be that nasty to survive. The virus just wants to survive.